Fatma, just to not leave it as a slideshow, but it's visible.
But she won't be able to edit the wording then.
Yes. Or maybe يعني صغري هذاك على الجانب مال 1 2 3.
ما طلع يتصغر. لحظة.
خلاص. We'll wait a few minutes and 2 minutes will start. We are already live on YouTube.
There should be a motion for adopting music playing while waiting.
We'll start now.
Okay.
Okay, we'll start.
Shihab, you can start.
Welcome to the 11th National General Assembly of Let's Go. Today we'll be having our first plenary session, and tomorrow will be the second plenary session. So guys, open your camera, stay tuned, and let's start. First of all, with every plenary, there's always the roll call. The roll call checks and confirms the officials are present. And let's start with the roll call. So we will start with the executive board. We have the president, that's me, and I'm present. Then we move to VPI,
Present.
VPCB. He is not with us. Absent. VPE.
Present.
Okay. Yes.
Present.
Okay, now I'll move on to the national officers. We have the NPO, National Officer on Public Health.
Present.
Okay. We have the NOMI, the National Officer on Medical Education. She is not present with us. We have the NORI, National Officer on Research Exchange.
Present.
Okay, then we have the NEO, National Officer on Professional Exchanges.
Present.
We have the NORP, National Officer on Human Rights and Peace.
Present.
And then other team of officials members. We have SQLC Local President.
Present.
We have a new LC Local President.
Present.
We have Media and Publications Division Director, who is unfortunately out. Okay, so this concludes the roll call. We have 10 officials currently present. Let's move on to the next point. So first of all, we will start with the trial motion, an example. Motion number X to appoint Ms. Rania as NGAXI mascot. So a motion is a proposal or something that is put up for adoption, something that is important, for example, to the community's goals, or something that the community wants to recognize or vote upon. So for this motion, you have to have a proposer, someone that brings forward the motion. you have to have a seconder, someone that agrees with the motion. Then you can have any amendments, any changes to the motion, or you could also then go for a direct negative, which is anyone that disagrees with the motion. And then if there is someone that disagrees with the motion, you go to a vote. There is to vote in favor, against, or to abstain for the motion. And the final result is based on the motion itself to require the majorities, either two-thirds majority or simple majority, absolute majority, and other majorities that we will explain tomorrow before our election. So let's proceed with the motion. To appoint Ms. Rania as NGA9's mascot, and at any point, if you have any questions, please raise your hand. It is proposed by the plenary team. I think that should be it. Okay, and do we have any seconders? Okay, I see Ahmed and PO, so we can write PO, seconder. Do we have any amendments to the motion? Yeah, I will amend this motion. The amendment reads to appoint Ms. Rania and Ms. Riham as NGA9's mascots.
Shihab, we're
Okay.
at NGA 11.
Okay, sorry, NGA 11. I'm still in NGA 9 2 years ago when I did this preliminary procedure. So thank you, Riham, for that point of information. Okay. Do we have, first of all, does the proposer accept this amendment? Plenary team?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Does the second amendment? PO?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So the amendment is now incorporated in the original motion. Now we'll move on to see if there are any direct negatives. I see no direct negatives. Okay, Maitham BPI, would you direct negative this motion?
I would like to proceed to a vote.
Okay, so I assume you have no alternative motion.
No alternative motions.
Okay.
Point of order.
Yes.
Is it the amendment incorporated? What
Yes.
amendment? Yeah, okay. Just 2
Okay,
minutes.
so you should note, plenary secretary, you should write the amended version below after during amendments,
Can you repeat?
just for future. In the amendment section, right, to appoint Ms. Rania and Ms. Riham as NGA 11 mascot.
You mean in the final result?
No, under amendments.
مسوي انتر تحت الامندمنتس and write it هنا. بس اكتبي and بعد راني اكتبي and و 11 ما 12. and Miss Riham.
So now we'll proceed to a vote since we had a direct negative from VPI. Please note that.
The vote is open.
Okay, just for 6
Open.
minutes, write a direct negative. Yes.
Opening motion X.
Okay, so now we have opened the vote. All officials, please vote. Okay. Let me know when we have 10 votes.
Closing motion X.
Okay.
Six in favor.
Okay.
3 against. And 1 abstain.
Okay. So we have
So motion. قول أنت شو أبصر.
here a total of 10 votes, and this motion passes by absolute majority. Okay. So let's move on to the next point of the agenda. We have a procedural motion to open the 11th National General Assembly meeting of MEDSCO. It was proposed by the president. Do we have any seconders? Okay, and it's Neo. So we have the Neo as a seconder. Do we have any amendments? I assume that hand was raised before. Okay, so we have no amendments. Do we have a direct negative? This is a procedural motion, so you don't have to ask for a direct negative. So we shall proceed to a vote directly. Please, Secretary, can remove the things written on the slide. And let's open the votes.
Starting procedural motion 1.
Okay, so the motion is now opened. Please vote. Let me know when we have 10 votes.
Osama, please, can you vote? Okay, closing.
Okay,
We have 9 in favor, 1 against, and 0 abstains.
so those are 10 votes.
So motion passes 2/3 majority or absolute majority.
Sorry, I just cut off. Did you
صح.
say something?
لا سوري. لا نسيت إن أنت الشير بعد.
Yeah.
سوري.
So motion passes by 2/3 majority. Let's move on to the next point of the agenda. Now, after this, maybe Ali can continue. So procedural motion number 2 to elect. Sorry, this should be read a regular motion. Yes, Nita. Is it a point of order, point of information? Nothing. Okay. To elect Mr. Ali Al-Wardi from SQLC as the chairperson of the 11th National General Assembly of MEDSCO. Mitham, do you have something? Why is your hand raised?
To second the motion.
Okay. Can you please wait? Or if you do it before the motion, I want to. It's proposed by the president. Do we have any seconders? Okay. Sid Maytham, VPFS. Okay. Do we have any amendments to this motion? I see none. Do we have any direct negative to this one? We have none. So motion passes nemo contra. I'll give the floor now to Ali. He is going to be the plenary chair for this MGA.
Thank you, Shihab. So can you go to the next slide, please? Also, can you please change it to motion number 2? No, the slide that says in procedural motion, just change it to motion number 2. Okay, so to elect Mr. Muayyid Al Musa, SQLC, as the vice chairperson of the 11th National General Assembly of METSCO Plenary. The motion is proposed by President. Do we have any seconders? Sidra, a new LC president. So the motion is seconded by a new LC president. Do we have any amendments to this motion? Going once, going twice, going thrice. So no amendments to this motion. Do we have any direct negatives to this motion? So no direct negatives to this motion, no replies, so no direct negatives. So motion passes nemo contra. So we'll go to the next slide. Point of information, Shihab.
Okay, just for the secretary points of information, you can write MP and C. Everyone knows motion passes nemo contra to be faster.
Okay.
Okay, so motion, go to the next. Go to the next slide. Okay. Okay, you can change this to motion number 3. Mhm. It's okay, keep it, we'll fix it later. So to elect Mr. Faisal Al-Balushi and Mr. Khalid Al-Balushi as QLC as the returning officers of NGA 11 plenary. This motion is proposed by the president. Do we have any seconders? Riham, so VPE seconds this motion. Do we have any amendments? President, what is
Okay,
your amendment, President?
so I have amendment to change it to elect Mr. Khalid Al-Balushi and let me send it in the chat better. That's Mr. Khalid Al-Balushi and Maitham, do you have the name? I don't know of the other returning officer.
Hakim, Mala?
Okay, so Mr. Khalid Al-Balushi and Ms. Hakima as the returning officers. Okay, for those asking, a returning officer is basically the one usually in IFMC that hands up the mics and removes people from the room during presentation of another candidate. But for the online sitting, returning officer is basically in charge of the waiting room and the technical issues and giving the spotlight. Okay, can you write the amendments?
So we have a point of information from the VPI.
It may be more of a point of order, but not to change for the sake of minutes. It's a regular motion, not a procedural motion.
Yes, we'll fix that later as it's hard to fix right now.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, can we just
Okay.
write the amendment? Change Faisal Balushi to Ms. Hakima.
Okay. So NULC, correct?
Nathan.
Present. Nathan, already we took his point of information.
From
Is it-
NULC, correct?
NULC.
Nathan.
Yes, so can you please add NULC after it? Fatima? Okay. So do you accept the amendment, President?
Yes.
Do you accept the amendment VPE?
Yes.
Okay. Do we have any direct negatives? No direct negatives. Motion passes Nemo contra. Okay. So to appoint motion number 4 to motion number 3, I mean, to appoint Ms. Fatima Murad NULC and Mr. Tariq Al Habsi SQLC as plenary secretary. Since this is an appointment, there will be no voting. So Ms. Fatima Murad and Mr. Tariq Al Habsi will be appointed as plenary secretaries. You can go to the next point, Fatima. So motion number 5 to adopt the agenda of the 11th National Assembly of Mexico. This is a procedural motion. So procedural motion number 5 or procedural motion number 2 it will be. Okay, to adopt the agenda of the 11th National General Assembly of Mexico. This is proposed by the president. Do we have a seconder? So Selma Nori. Do we have a direct, sorry, this is a procedural motion, so no direct negative. So we'll go directly into voting. Please get your voting cards ready.
Starting procedural motion 2.
Point of order, Shihab.
I know that it's not allowed point of order in the middle of the vote, but it's written to elect Mr. Ali Al-Wardi as chairperson. So could you change that in the description of the motion?
Do you mean the voting?
Yes, any more vote.
Okay, just a second. Apologies, we will be starting the voting again. So everyone please get ready, and thank you for the point of order, Shihab. So the motion says to adopt the agenda of the 11th General Assembly of Mexico.
Starting motion. Matham, BPFS. Matham. Okay, closing motion. Nine in favor, one against, zero abstentions.
Motion passes 2/3 majority. Okay, so now this is the agenda. Can you go to the next slide? So our plenary started with the opening, roll call, and plenary simulation, then the election of the chairperson, vice chairperson, election of the returning officers, appointment of the secretaries and secretary assistants. And now we're on the 5th point of the agenda, which is the agenda itself. And we were requested a speaking list or an opening statement. So we will now go to the opening statements. And if you can please submit who will do the opening statements via chat, please. who will go?
I sent it image. I sent it in the chat.
Yes, please send it in the chat.
Yeah. But now this statement is from Medsco's EB. So
Okay, so please go ahead.
okay. I think there's a max for words, so the whole thing didn't come to the chat.
No, I meant who would say who would speak
Okay,
on behalf of the EB.
Okay, I'll be the only one speaking. I think you can ask if anyone else wants to speak.
Does anyone else want to speak? Okay, so no one else wants to speak. So President, you can go ahead.
Dear TO, Medsco members, and all participants, welcome to all to our 11th National General Assembly plenary. First of all, we would like to thank the TO, OC, sessions team, invited guests, and of course you, the participants, for all your hard work, engagement to make this assembly successful. We successfully all witnessed an exciting opening ceremony, 3 very productive team events, amazing activities fair, and our beloved standing committee and animal management sessions. As you may know, the plenary is where the community's most important decisions take place, and today I stand before you proud that we have successfully produced the TO end reports, financial report, subco report to ensure complete transparency and accountability within our community. We highly encourage our future leaders to continue these values and work towards the advancement of our community. And today marks a new beginning with the first ever SCORME regulation proposal and our first ever strategy proposed. Thanks to all the work of the officials for this term and previous terms. We are proud to take this step and welcome all members' input before adoption. Today and tomorrow's plenaries mark a critical step for Medsco's leadership. This is why we advise all voters to make an informed decision by reading all the candidature information provided to you in addition to tomorrow's presentations. We highly encourage you all to not base your decision on personal relationships or only one component of the candidature. We advise all to choose our new leadership based on the future advancement of our beloved community. And on a final note, we would like to encourage you all to ask questions about the plenary procedures and anything that isn't clear about any procedure. As you, the members, are the core of the community and the future leaders, healthcare providers, and young advocates of the society. Best regards on behalf of Medsco's EAB 2020-2021, Shihab, Riham, Maitham, and Iman. Thank you.
Thank you, Shihab. NPO, you submitted an opening statement. Would you like to go ahead with it?
Yes, I do. Thank you. I'll just send it in the chat now. Okay. So since I'm approaching the end of my political career, I would like to thank everyone that was involved in my journey. I have started as an LPO and slowly made my way and made my dream of becoming an NPO. It has been a privilege, and I would like to thank you all for being a great team, even though we had our ups and downs. I'd also like to thank my SCOF team who have made this past year worth it and memorable despite the online Zoom fatigue. We conducted a couple of very successful events and brought new organizations to join with us. And we also opened our first capacity building branch, SCOF. I would like to thank Abdullah, Fatma, and Zulekha for their incredible support and efforts. I wish Metzco Oman all the success in the future terms, and I hope we have a good plenary. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Abdullah. This ends our opening statements part of the agenda. Can you please go to the next point? So we'll start with the presentations right now, starting with the presentation of the strategy. Please note that after the presentations, we will have a 10-15 minute prayer break. So yeah, so we'll start with the presentation of strategy.
Okay, thank you. I'll be sharing my screen and presenting the latest version of the strategy. Okay. Okay. So dear Metzco members, is this clear or do you want me to zoom in more? It's all shared in, of course, the submissions folder. Can you all see my screen? Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Yes.
So first of all, thank you. So first of all, the background on the strategy is that we have opened the task force in NGA 9. This task force aimed to create and evaluate how can we implement the strategy and actually start a strategy that we have been lacking. IFMSA already have a strategy. The EMR region, I think, have their third strategy now in progress. So we have been lacking in terms of other NMOs and IFMSA. So we started off by creating the task force. The task force worked with other alumni and officials and local offices and so on to gather input on what's important for our strategy. After that, we've started making and creating the strategy. And in this year, the EB have been working on completing the pillars of the strategy. So I won't go too long. It's all shared in the submissions drive. It starts off with an introduction and a brief background on what the strategy is and the goals of the strategy. Then it moves to a table of contents, basically the main 5 pillars, which are financial stability, internal development, capacity building, visibility and promotion. Also, finally, external affairs. So here within the strategy, there are aims and indicators. And if you all have, for the ones at least that have attended strategy sessions before, they should know that the indicators are where we measure the progress of the strategy. And hopefully by next year, by the next team of officials, they will be working on the strategy and they'll have a tracking sheet via Excel. So basically that's a brief overview of the strategy. Do we have any questions? I think we'll just have maybe 2 minutes max for questions.
Yes, we can start with questions now. If anyone has any questions, please raise your hand. Going once. Going twice. Okay, so we have no questions and we can move on to the next point of the agenda.
Okay, just one note, the strategy will be adopted tomorrow and voted upon. So we have until midnight tonight to submit any changes to the strategy. So please review it and share your input, and we will review it as MISCO EB. Thank you very much.
Okay, Fatma, if you can share the presentation again. So the next point is point number 8 on the agenda is the presentation of the SCOMI regulations. So Nomi, are you ready to present?
Point of information, Nomi won't be presenting, the Lomi of SQ will be presenting on her behalf.
Okay, if the Lomi can raise their hand, please. Okay, Lomi, you can unmute yourself and go ahead and share the screen.
Okay, second.
So you can share your screen.
Okay, so hello everyone. I'm Abdul Malik Shamsi, the current local officer of medical education at SKU. And I'm here today instead of the national officer Khadija Shirawi to present our work, which is SCOMI regulation. So as a team, we came up with the idea of SCOMI regulation because we saw that there was something missing in SCOMI and we needed something to make the standing committee more organized, as well as to have a document that we can get back to whenever there is something that is related to SCOMI or any work that is related to SCOMI, hence the idea of SCOMI regulation. So hopefully we can get to work on it as soon as possible, starting from today or even from the next term, if it gets accepted, inshallah. So we started working on the regulation since the beginning of January. There were 5 members that worked on the regulation. Khadija Shirawi, the current Nomi, Safiya, Nomi assistant, Noor Al-Harmali, Nanu Lomi, me, Abdul Malik Shamsi, SQ Lomi, and last but not least, Ibrahim Al-Raheli, an active member of SCOMI. We divided the team into 2 groups, and each group were assigned certain points that has to be included in the regulation. For the sake of time, I will not be able to cover them all, but I will mention the most important points of them, such as, for example, we have the strategic plan or SCOMI strategic plans, we have the national local working plan, we have the members, the meetings, the local and national officers' function and reporting, as well as many other points that has been mentioned here in the document. So as I said, hopefully we can work as soon as possible. So that was from my part. That was the work that we have done to reach this point, which is having SCOMI regulation. Thank you so much and for listening.
Thank you very much. So if anyone has any questions, please raise your hand. Okay, so I see no hands raised. So going once, twice. Okay, and this ends this segment of the agenda. If we can go to the next point. Thank you, Abdul Malik. If Fatma, you can share the slides again. So presentation of financial report. So can the person who will present please raise their hand? Okay, Mitham, VPFS, you can share your screen and go ahead.
Right. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
All right, so here is the financial report. It consists of 2 pages, so simple. Here is a summary of the report, and the summary is that we started the term being in debt of 103 riyals. And right now we have 3,136 surplus in the NMO's bank account. Here is a recommendation for the future VPFS, and here is the exact balance sheet, I mean, containing all the details of our income and expenses. Here's the total amount, and here is the running balance. That's it. If you have any
Thanks.
questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Mitham. So if anyone has any questions, please raise their hand. Going once, going twice, going thrice. Okay, let's go to the next point of the agenda. So no questions. Thank you, Mitham.
Most welcome.
Fatma, if you can share the screen again. Okay, so we will be taking a prayer break now before coming back to the adoption changes of the constitution. The prayer break will be for 10 minutes. So if everyone can be back here by 18:45, and we will see you then.
I am still with the idea of adopting a playlist for the waiting time.
Can we do a motion to adopt Anas as the DJ?
Any motion. I'll
Motion to
submit
adopt
one.
ايش؟
A playlist for the waiting time.
Share your sound, Anas, if you want to put something until we start.
I can't share. I don't want to share.
Huh? You don't know how to share, or
I
you
can't share anything. I can't. You should share.
Who's the host? Make Anas co-host and share.
No way. No, this will stop other from sharing the screen. خلاص ما ينفع.
افتح بالميكروفون على التليفون وسوي.
يلا نزين.
Or we can hear your lovely voice.
I don't know what they're saying, so
I think it's best we don't scare off the participant.
Motion to suspend.
Okay, we will be starting.
time.
It's time. So let's go over through the TO that are here or not. So President,
Present.
VPI,
Present.
VPE,
Present.
VPFS,
Present.
NPO,
Present.
NEO,
Present.
NORI,
Present.
NORP,
Present.
Local President SQU,
Present.
Local President NU.
Present.
Okay. So I would just, before starting, I would like to apologize for the mess up that happened earlier. There was a mess up in the numbers and the Nemo vote, so it messed everything up. So we apologize for that. So we were going to start. So we're going to resume at the agenda point we stopped. The agenda point we stopped at was number 10, which is adoption to changes to the Constitution. So we are going to the next, the motion. The motion number 4. The motion says to adopt the Constitution changes number 1 to 19. So just for the participants that are here to make it clear, the TO agreed on a number of bylaw changes. I think they are on in the submissions folder if anyone would like to see it. So the changes are, they clustered them into one, so we don't waste time into voting or doing each one individually. I would also like to remind the TO that if you do a direct negative, we will have to vote on each one individually. So I would start now. So motion number 4, to adopt the constitution changes number 1 to 19. This motion is proposed by the President. President, would you like to explain?
No, just to let the TO know that we had discussions yesterday and we clustered all the changes together.
Okay, who would like to second this motion? So who didn't second today? Anas? Neo seconds this motion. Any amendments?
No amendments.
Okay, so no, if anyone wants amendments, then they would raise their hand. So any direct, and I see no one raising their hands. So direct negative, does anyone have a direct negative? If you have a direct negative, please raise your hand. Okay, so no direct negative, so motion passes nemo contra. So now we will go to the next slide, adoption of changes to bylaws. So if you can go to the next slide. Motion number 5, to adopt the bylaw change proposals number 1 to 134. This bylaw change is proposed by the President. President, would you like to explain?
We have discussed yesterday, and these are the bylaws that no one disagrees with.
Okay, so I'd like to remember the participants. You can find those bylaw changes in the submissions form if you would like to know more about it, and I'm sure you can ask the President or anyone else any questions if you do have any, or you can even ask your point of information. So, and we would reply at the end of the plenary. So anyone would like to second this motion? So we have VPI already seconded. Anyone? Okay, so VPI seconds this motion.
Right, VPI would like to second this motion.
Any amendments? Does anyone have any amendments? If you have any amendments, please raise your hand. No amendments. Does anyone have a direct negative? No direct negatives. Motion passes nemo contra. Motion number 6, to adopt bylaw change proposal number 135. This motion is proposed by VPI. VPI, would you like to explain?
Yes, please. This was discussed in yesterday's meeting to change. This is one related with the EB positions that it's also great if you can show the, if not, then it was the one that an EB member can be in an EB position. A member can be in the EB position for more than 2 years. I'm suggesting, or I'm proposing to change that to 3 years.
Fatima, if you can show the proposal on screen, I think if you have it in the bylaw, I think we can go to number 135. Okay, so I would like to explain to the members and remind the TO. So basically what the rule or the bylaw in METSCO says is that a person, if they apply for the executive board, which is the president and the vice presidents, are not allowed to have more than 2 terms in the executive board. So they are not allowed to apply for a 3rd term. What this proposal is suggesting that to change it to 3 terms instead of 2 terms. So basically this is the change they're voting on right now. And we will proceed to the next step. So would anyone like to second this motion?
I'm
please raise your
I'm
hand
sorry.
if you would like to second this motion.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so SQLC President, you raised your hand. Any amendments? Mayhem VPI, do you have an amendment?
Yes, Metin VPI speaking. I would like to amend to add to be effective immediately. So the motion will read to adopt the bylaws change proposal number 135 to be effective immediately.
So okay, we can look at the fonts later. Okay, do we have any direct negative? Okay, so sorry, yes, point of order. Does the VPI accept this amendment?
Yes, I do.
Does the president accept the amendment as QLC president? As QLC president, do you accept this amendment?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so do we have a direct negative? Methem VPFS. What do you have an alternative motion?
No, just just the bylaw stays the same to have the EB member as 2 years, not
So
more
you're
than.
directing negative to okay. So do you have any other direct negatives? Okay. All right. So we will proceed to voting. Motion number 6. You can lower your hand.
Starting motion number 6.
Point of information will be after the voting finishes.
Closing motion. We have 5 in favor, 4 against, and 1 abstain.
Okay, so motion fails. Wait, just a second. Sorry, motion passes simple majority. Motions are with simple majority. So motion passes simple majority.
Plenary team, can we just have a minute to check the bylaws?
Yes, it says simple majority for motion. Yes, please do check.
Why isn't it 2/3 majority in this case?
Regular motions pass with simple majority. Procedural motions are with absolute majority, and the elections
Okay,
are with-
I have the bylaws. Any bylaw change requires 2/3 majority. So this motion should
this-
fail.
But isn't it a regular? Can you please send me the bylaw? And is it in the new one or the old one?
Okay. Yeah, because it's a bylaw change proposal. So the simple majority is for any motion, regular motion that is not specified otherwise in the bylaws. So any bylaw change proposal requires a 2/3 majority. I'll send
Please do.
to you the text or anyways.
Okay. Okay, apologies. I had the wrong version of the bylaws open, and President was correct. So motion fails as bylaw changes do need 2/3 majorities. Apologies for the inconvenience. Thank you, President.
I just have a point of information.
Yes, please do. Go ahead.
Currently, due to the bylaw that didn't pass, the candidate Matham for president is invalid.
Yes. So in order for Mr. Matham Adlawati to run tomorrow, a procedural motion would need to be submitted, and that would also need a 2/3 majorities. So we will. So for the TO and the EB, please look for a solution for that, or inform me of the withdrawal before tomorrow. So please go to the next slide. Motion number 7. I understand this motion was to be withdrawn.
Yes, I have withdrawn this motion due to miscommunication. So we would be discussing it and reproposing this point of agenda tomorrow.
Okay, just for information, this you will need to reopen the bylaws part of the agenda, and we would need to check the bylaws if that is feasible. Point of information from Matham.
Thank you. The procedure motion can be sent, it needs to be sent today, or it can be sent in the tomorrow's plenary?
Procedural motion can be sent at any time.
Regarding the, regarding the previous BCP.
Yes, it can be sent at any time.
Okay, yeah, just to make sure. All right, thank you.
Okay.
It's just before the presentation.
Yes, just before the presentations. Before the agenda item opens. Okay, next. So Mitham, you raise your hand. Mitham, VPFS, did you raise your hand? Okay.
Sorry, it was just raised.
Okay. So motion withdrawn. So motion number 7 is withdrawn. We will go to the next one, which is adoption of regulations. We only had one regulation to be adopted. So this is the final point. So the motion number 8 to adopt SCOME regulations. Do we have a seconder?
Point of order, can you ask President to explain?
President, please explain.
Yeah, I have received, we all received the SCOME regulations that were submitted today as of latest by the SCOME, by the NOMI, sorry. And I'm proposing on her behalf as she cannot be present here with us today.
Okay, thank you, President. Do we have a seconder? VPE? Do we have any amendments? Going once, going twice. No amendments have been suggested. So do we have any direct negative? Do we have any direct negative? Okay, so we have no direct negatives. Motion passes Nemo contra. Okay, and with this, we end our plenary for today. And we apologize for all the inconveniences and hope tomorrow will be a smoother outing. And if anyone has any questions, please go ahead. We would also open a speakers list right now if anyone would like to speak. So would anyone like to go on the speakers list, please raise your hand. So President.
Okay, it wasn't a speaker list. I just want to say congratulations, SCOME and the SCOME team for the adoption of the new SCOME regulation.
Okay, would anyone else like to go on the speakers list? Okay, so with this, we end the plenary for today. We have Maytam would like to go on the speakers list.
Sorry.
Please go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to inform you that it's not a speaker, it's just a point of information. I want to inform you that I submitted the procedure motion.
Okay, we will look at the procedural motion. And for this procedural motion, I think you would need a seconder. So please, if you can find a seconder for this motion.
I need two proposers. There are already two proposers.
Sorry, I mean
Yeah.
two proposers. Yes.
Yeah,
So
it's
if you
already
can have-
submitted. It's already submitted.
Okay. And did you submit the explanation as well?
Yeah, you can check the form.
Okay, thank you very much. And yeah, with that we end. And if you have any questions, please do ask us, but you are free to leave. And you can stop recording.